Years ago, we were on TV a lot. In fact, I did color commentary for CBS, NBC way back in the 70s and early 80s. And I traveled the world, and powerlifting was real hot in those days. And later after I got out of it, I called NBC on the, everybody wanted me to say, Larry, can you see if you can get our foot back in the door? They're not doing powerlifting anymore. And I called the people at NBC and people I knew, and they said, Larry, we went out and looked at a contest, and he said, we saw these guys putting on these shirts and putting on these suits, and they said it's an absolute joke what these guys are going through when the shirt and the suit is doing more than the man. So I don't know. They have to get back to normal, proper drug testing as you would imagine. Get where equipment's just normal, maybe knee wraps, belt, and go out there and get at it.
We're sitting down today with Mr. Powerlifting, Larry Pacifico. He's a 9-time world champion from 1971 and 1979, winning 102 competitions and setting 54 world records. So when would you say, or when do you believe that powerlifting became its own sport?
I would say with the initial kickoff of the World Championships, when the IPF took it over 2 years later, I think that's when it was officially done. But once we had more than United States lifters, the question you posed to me was, when did it feel like a World Championships? The first year it did. By the third year, it really felt good. And by the time we took our first international trip in '75, when we went off to England.
It doesn't seem to get the coverage. YouTube covers it a lot, but it doesn't seem to get the coverage that you would think it should get. Why is that?
Well, coverage started happening when we went to Australia in '77. Mm-hmm. And NBC showed up with Brian Gumbel and the whole crew of guys that I still talk to today. Terry Todd was introduced to them, and he took over that first job as color commentary.
From Providence, Rhode Island to Perth, Australia, the World Powerlifting Championships, Terry Todd and Bryant Gumbel.
These are the sights and sounds of the World Powerlifting Championships in Perth, Australia.
Then we started getting all the coverage we wanted. After the Worlds in '77, we got the Nationals, women Nationals the next year, and they asked me to do color for them, and I did. That was with Donna Di Verona, and then we got the men's Nationals, the women's Nationals, and then the personalities started coming out. They hired a lot of good people for our sport, and I did the World Cup with oh gosh, I can't think of his name. Personalities from NBC and in our world of powerlifting, everybody got into it. The sport took off because all these celebrities were involved in helping out the sport, and then before it rolled over and died, when they started bringing in bench press shirts and squatting suits that were 6 layers deep of steel, iron, basically steel fabric, denim, you name it, and people were trying to squat in it, and their squat was normally a raw 500, and they put a suit on, goes to 600, put another layer on 700, another layer 800, another layer 900, and so on and so on. 5 plies. 5, mind you. And then the shirts came in. And of course, the shirts came in first. And then you have 5 layers of shirts. All of a sudden, I was the 3rd man in history to bench 600. And I weighed 100 pounds less than Jim Williams and Pat Casey. And I did it weighing 235. And then all of a sudden, 148 pounders doing it and 5 plies of shirts. So you say, well, I bench 600. Well, that's nothing. My uncle, who weighs 148, bench 615. That kind of thing. It ruined the sport. Some people close to me are going to be upset by this because, I think 1 ply suit is protects the legs. But I think the squat suit is helpful to the lifter. It just was a good support of the hips and so on. And then all of a sudden somebody said, well, let's double that. Well, let's triple it. Let's quadruple it. Let's put it in denim. And then all of a sudden, 132 pounders are squatting 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.